So Chinese sesame balls, easy to make, right? Wrong. The recipe itself, the ingredient list is really short. The directions and the tips and the notes. There's tons of recipes on the internet for this, and none of them go into the details of how you make it properly. I'm gonna show you how to do that today. Hi everyone, it's Bill from the Walks of Life, and I'm back today to make sesame balls, or jintui, how we call it in Cantonese, or macho in Mandarin. These sesame balls are made with glutinous rice, filled with a sweet filling, usually lotus paste, red bean paste, but today we're gonna use Taro Coconut Filling, which is really, really nice. It'll be nice and perfectly round. The outside will be crispy with those really fragrant sesame seeds. And when you bite into that, you get that crust on the outside of the sesame seed. You get that gooey layer of glutinous rice, and then you get that sweet filling in there. It is just heaven. You often see these at your dim sum restaurant or in Chinese bakeries, sometimes wrapped in plastic. If they're not fresh, they get a little bit oily. They kind of deflate a little bit, and they're not so good, but it's so easy actually to make them at home. The only deal is that you do have to deep fry them, and don't anybody ask me if you can do these in an air fryer. It don't work. Can I do it in the air fryer? No.
No.
It took me years, literally years to develop. And the reason why it took years is that I tried it. Each year I'd give it another shot. They started exploding, or they would turn out rock hard. They're too soft, they're deflated. The sesame seeds would fall off, all kinds of things. And finally, the stars aligned and I got all of the ins and outs. So today I'm sharing it with you on our YouTube channel, giving you all the details and the visuals, so there's no confusion or no questions, hopefully. Today's filling we're using is Taro Coconut Filling. Today we're making sesame balls with this filling, but you can also use it for steamed buns, baked buns, and other things. Very versatile. And the best part about it is that when you make a batch of this, you can freeze it and then defrost it for another day. So for those of you who have never tried taro, taro has a really unique buttery flavor associated with it. You can check out our post. We have a whole post on taro itself. Usually you can find this at your local Chinese grocery store, but lately what we found is that you can get it at your local grocery store as well. What we need is 12 ounces of taro for this recipe. So we're just gonna cut them in 1-inch cubes, and it's indispensable to have an electronic scale. On our recipe cards, we have US customary measurements or metric. All you gotta do is click that metric button and it'll give it to you in grams, including the water even. You just pour the water until you see the number of grams, you're done. So much easier than measuring the cups, and it's definitely more precise. Any baker will tell you that. Zero out the scale. I'm gonna set this to ounces. Probably want to just start on one end because we're probably not going to use this all, and it'll keep better in the refrigerator if you use this. You cut off the end and look at this taro. It's nice and fresh. You could see there's no black spots. I'm going to guesstimate 12 ounces, and then I'm going to put it on its end like this, and I'm just going to shave it off. You want to make sure that you get enough of the peel off, otherwise it's going to be tough. So this looks pretty good, I have to say. Gonna cut one side of it, get a flat edge, and then we're gonna cut it into 1-inch cubes. One. So now I've got this 1 inch like this, and this doesn't have to be exact, but you do want to get them uniform size, and that's the beauty of the digital scale. You just keep cutting and piling as you go along until you get the amount you want. In this case, it's 12. We've got 10.5 ounces. I'll cut another piece off of here. That's it's about 12.5. Not bad. Let me show you the steamer setup we have. This is a double steamer. We always have the double on, but you actually could just use one level. But I'm going to put it on the top. And here's your taro. Make sure it's kind of distributed. Put it right in the middle.
So how much water do you have in here?
You want to get at least 1.5 inches of water, or 2 inches of water. So I've got about 1.5 inches. We'll put it on the stove and go from there. As soon as this thing starts steaming, it should be about 15 to 20 minutes afterwards. Let's check the taro. And this has been going about 15, 20 minutes, but you see how this is fork tender and it's coming apart? Kind of like a potato. Put a fork through it. If it goes through with no resistance, you're good. We're just gonna let it cool slightly, and we'll go to our next step. So our taro is now fork tender. If you could smell this, it smells so buttery. The taro just has a great fragrance to it. But what we're gonna do is we're just gonna mash this. So I'm gonna use a fork. You can also just use a masher. It mashes pretty easily. And now I can already see that there are some bits of this taro that are a little bit hard, which is why we're going to use a strainer later. Now you could use a food mill, you could use a ricer. So right now I don't see any visible lumps, and I think this is ready to go. And the other thing about doing this while it's warm, you can see it's still steaming, is that the sugar will combine with the taro better. Our next step is to put in the sugar. Do it while it's warm, it's better. We're gonna put 5 tablespoons of sugar in here. 5. And then we put a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Now 4 tablespoons of coconut milk. We're gonna mix it all together. So I'm just gonna fold everything in. Now normally I would put this through a strainer. So it's ideal to strain the taro before you put the other ingredients in, but you could also do it after. Put this through a strainer, and this step makes it nice and smooth. You actually want a coarse strainer. We actually do have a coarser strainer, but it's a small strainer. The holes are much better on that. I'm gonna clean this out in a minute because the bits are building up.
Oh boy.
So this is kind of nice. So now after you scrape the bottom of it, and what I'm gonna do is periodically clean this out. You see, and you can visibly see some chunks in here. I'm gonna put it all on the side. Why go through all this with the ricer, with the strainer, and just use a food processor and break everything up? Problem with that is that if you do that, it's gonna make your taro filling gummy, and you definitely don't want that.
It's like over mashing potatoes.
That's right. And now we're ready to make the sesame ball dough. I've got my water boiling, and now I'm gonna measure out my glutinous rice flour and sugar. First thing I'm gonna do is zero out the scale, and we're gonna use grams. And remember, we're gonna add 60 grams. So these sesame balls are made with glutinous rice. That gives it that nice chewy texture. Glutinous flour is typically in this green bag. Don't make the mistake of getting rice flour, which is different. This is what we use to make other dishes like lobako. Use the green bag, not the red bag. Glutinous rice flour. That's 38, and that's 60. Zero out again, add our sugar. 60 grams. I'm going to mix everything up. I'm gonna zero out the scale again, and I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of boiling water, or 59 grams. Now this recipe requires both boiling water and room temperature water. Why? The boiling water cooks the glutinous rice and makes it really flexible. Then the regular water will just give it a slightly firmer texture because you don't want the thing flopping on you. But you do want that stretchiness because when we fry these, it will expand a little bit and you want that chewiness. So now I'm gonna mix it up. The sugar, by the way, also makes the dough a little bit more forgiving, less tough. So we're gonna let that set for 5 minutes. All right, so we're ready to add the flour. Now I'm gonna zero it, I'm gonna put it back on grams, and I'm gonna add 120 grams of flour. That's 39, 96, and of course we ran out. So we're gonna open up this other bag. 120. Okay, that's that. And then next, it's a 1/4 cup plus 1 tablespoon of water, or 70 grams or 70 milliliters of water. So now we've got our second round of room temperature water and glutinous rice flour in there. We're gonna mix everything up. Looks a little dry, but don't panic, just keep going. It's a little bit of a rough dough now, but you're gonna knead a little bit into a smooth dough and reincorporate what's on the spatula. Once we've gotten this to a smooth consistency, we're gonna put a plate over this bowl and let it rest for 30 minutes. That's what it looks like, nice and shiny. I'm getting a smaller plate. I could put a big plate on top here, but actually I want it to have less air. It's almost resting on the dough. We want least amount of air as possible because we don't want it to dry out. While our dough is resting, we're gonna prepare the sesame seeds. What we're gonna do is use a paper towel because we want it to absorb any extra water. We're gonna start out with a 1/4 cup or maybe even a 1/3 cup. And I'm gonna wet these, shake off the excess water, and I'm gonna put them on this paper towel. And then we're ready to go. Note to oneself, do not touch the sesame seeds while they're wet. Our next step is to shape the filling for the sesame balls. Each filling ball is going to be 24 grams. Roll them into a ball, put them on a plate, put them in the fridge, they'll be ready. However much dough we have, you're going to divide that by 8 and weigh each one of them, make them into a ball. If you like a thicker dough, divide by 6 and make 6 sesame balls. If you want to make your folding job easier, use a little bit less filling, 20 grams instead of 24 grams. Now, you're gonna ask me, it's like, well, I've got all this filling left. Of course, You're gonna have filling left over anyway from this recipe. So you're gonna freeze it and then use it on another day. I'm going to measure out, how about we do 20 today? Make it easy. I'm gonna roll this into a ball, set it aside, 17, add a little bit more for 20. Get my drift here? I'm gonna finish shaping these, put them in the fridge while we're waiting, and then shape the glutinous dough, rice dough. And the reason why we put them in the fridge is so they remain firm and they're easier to wrap. So you see, we made 6 sesame balls today. Look at all this filling that's left over from our filling recipe. It's okay. You're gonna say, hey, what am I gonna do with all this? You're gonna make themed bows with it. You're gonna make more sesame balls on another day. You're gonna make baked bows. You're gonna find use for this, and it's very, very delicious. Wrap this up in a Tupperware and freeze it. Next, we're gonna shape our dough balls. So this has been resting 30 minutes. I'm gonna put this on the scale. It says 369. 369 divided by 6 is about 62.
Pretty good.
Or 1.
I don't know.
Something like that. 61 and a half. Okay, I got 49. 60. Oh, look at that. I hit it. 57. 61. So now we kind of smush this here. That's 1 ball, 2 balls. So we're gonna keep these covered. We do not want these to dry out. So you could use like a damp towel, or you could just put them back in the bowl like I'm doing. They don't have to be perfectly round. Put them just like that. We have our dough ball, we have a filling ball, and we've got our wet sesame seeds. We're making 6 sesame balls today. I did say 8 earlier, but we're gonna make 6. And what you do is you kind of get this into a round piece like this. And you notice here, there might be a few cracks, which is why you have a little bit of water. You see these cracks? Rub a little bit of water in here and meld everything together. I flattened this out, and you want to try to flatten the edges out. These sides have to be a little bit thinner because you're going to fold this up into 4s, and all the dough is going to gather at the top. But meanwhile, you don't want this bottom to be too thin. Fold this up like this, and you see you're kind of putting it together. And one of the keys to this is you don't want too much air to be in here. So the idea is to sort of pinch this shut, and this is a little bit dry, so I'm gonna pat a little bit of water on here.
On a dry day, it's not a bad idea to use a damp dishcloth, right?
That's right. You've got your ball here like this, and then now you just carefully roll it. Okay, if you see a little crack here, you can put a little bit of water here, rub it in, and it magically seals it like that. And then you're gonna do this. Roll it into a ball, and you're gonna put it aside just like that. It's a little bit dry. It's okay. I'm gonna put this, you sort of press this down very slightly. Put this up, just kind of fold everything together. And then you'll find that you got more dough that you can redisplace and fold over. And look at it, look how messy it is actually. And you see some cracks, put a little bit of water, rub it in, and you see how it sticks together. I rolled this baby. I'm gonna roll them in the sesame seeds. So getting all those sesame seeds to stick uniformly and get 100% coverage on that sesame ball can be tricky. Most recipes will just say, oh yeah, wet your sesame ball, roll them in, and you're done. Wrong, you're not done. If you do that, you're gonna have sesame seeds floating everywhere in your oil. If you try to put something wet against something dry, it's not likely to stick. It's the same as a mason. For all you masons out there, right? When you put concrete down onto stone or onto another concrete surface, what do? You wet the concrete first. Same deal with the sesame seeds. You gotta wet your sesame seeds in the oil. All that'll fry out. And in fact, it'll cause the sesame seeds to stay a nice golden brown instead of darkening too quickly. That is a huge tip. Took me a long time to figure that out. But that's the way to do it. Feel like you got good coverage on the sesame seeds. You take it in your palm and you do the same thing. You're pressing the wet sesame seeds into the dough. Now you've got all of these sesame seeds pressed into there, pretty good coverage. And we're gonna set it aside right here, just like that, and that's one of them's done. You do wanna work fast. It'll start to deform. You'll start to get a flat bottom, but don't worry. Right before you put it in, use that signature move again. And the nice thing about using this paper towel is that it retains moisture, but it's not a puddle of water. Okay, we've got enough sesame balls for our first fry. I'm gonna show you how to fry these. Frying oil is right around 320 degrees. We drop them in, the oil temperature is gonna drop. We're gonna adjust to keep it right around 300 degrees, anywhere from 290 to 300. We don't want them to fry too high. So we're gonna move it around with a slotted spoon. Total fry time is gonna be about 17 to 18 minutes. So these sesame balls are a little bit have flattened out because I've been sitting them down, so I'm gonna just roll them a little bit. They are gonna naturally round out anyway, so I'm gonna roll this around. That's temperature's about 320. I'm gonna put them all in, and you notice they're not frying like crazy, but you do want to put these down. You can put these down gently with a spoon, but you do want to get them moving so they don't stick. So
It's really low temperature.
It's very low temperature frying, yes. I'm only demonstrating 3 balls at a time, and it's probably what you should start with. But if you're experienced, even in a smaller pot like this, you could probably fry 4 or 5. But don't do too many because these balls are going to expand a little bit. Let's check the temperature. 290, 300, right about this. This is about good. I'm going to turn it slightly lower. This is our favorite instant read thermometer. So we'll leave a link in the description box, and we're just gonna let these fry, and we'll see you in a few minutes. One of the keys to frying this is that you need to fry it at a low temperature to get a crust going. Right about now, I think we've got a pretty solid crust. And why you don't want to fry at a 350 right away is that everything's gonna heat up so fast and it's gonna expand too fast, but the structure of the sesame ball is not there yet. You're gonna get a breach. Or worst case, you might even get an explosion if you left too much air inside. After about 4 or 5 minutes, which is where we're at, a crust forms, and then you can turn the temperature up a little bit more and you'll see these fry. Come over here, I'll show you what we're gonna do. So now you'll see that the balls have started to float, and that is an indication that the crust is formed. Now what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to roll them in the oil because you see this exposed part. You want to get them to fry evenly. And at this point, check this out. If it's not quite rounded, you could say, well, let me press this down. And remember, we use the cooked dough, so the dough is very elastic. It's not going to explode, and it's not going to breach. It's just going to fry it really nicely. It's been about 11 minutes now, and the balls have expanded and gotten bigger and rounder. And we're just rolling them around just for even frying. And let's double check the temperature right here. Okay, we're frying right around 315, 320. So now our recipe says to turn them up to 350. Barley wants a sesame ball. You know, at this point, if you want them a little darker, you can turn it up, but I think this is just fine. These are just about done. They're looking really good. They just need to darken up a little bit more. Another 4 to 5 minutes. Hey, one thing I wanted to point out to you is, look at the oil here. There is not a single stray sesame seed in here. When I serve these at dinner, once one of these balls are ready, boy, are they a crowd pleaser. So this is great for the holidays or a dinner party
Chinese New Year.
or Chinese New Year. You definitely got to think about making these because it's all about making the food. These look done. They're a beautiful golden brown. Take them out. Look at that.
Whoa.
Look at that.
It's perfect.
This is either restaurant or bakery quality, if not better.
Dang, that sound.
Oh yeah, oh, I gotta try this. Really good. And the balls, a little bit bigger, chewy, glutinousy. Man, every time I make these, I usually say, why don't I make them more often? But actually these, I make them quite often. They are so good. And this Taro Coconut Filling is just out of this world. So if you enjoyed this video and you wanna make these sesame balls, and I know you do, give us a like on YouTube and visit us at thewalksoflife.com for the complete recipe. Oh, and also I forgot, subscribe to our YouTube channel and subscribe to our newsletter and check out our cookbook. It's awesome.
Bit of the pain in the knee, you know what.
It is kind of a pain. That's why people use ricers. I'm just gonna finish this.
Okay, when you're done,